Hello and welcome back to the fourth tutorial for making space rocks in GML. So today I'm going to be adding the score and lives and also the different rooms in the game. So let's get started. Let's create a new object and I'm going to call this obj game. And this object is going to be more of a system object. It's not ever going to be visible to the player, but it's going to be controlling things behind the scenes. So let's come into its create event. And in here, we're going to use the built-in variables score. And we'll just start that off as 0, and also lives. And let's just go with 3. So these two variables are special variables that are built into GameMaker, and they're actually global variables. And that means that unlike instance variables, which are only accessible to a particular instance, or local variables, which are only available during one script, global variables will persist for the whole game and any instance can use them. So now that we've set those two up, let's go and draw them to the screen. So let's go into the draw event, and this is where we can draw different elements to the screen. So you can draw things like text, shapes, and sprites. So we're going to be drawing text, and the function that we can use for that is just draw text. As you can see, there are a few different ones. So if you want to draw it with a certain color, or if you want to draw it transformed, you can use those ones. But for now, we'll just use this. So for the XY location of the text, I might draw it just at the top left, but bumped over a little bit. So I'm just going to go 20, 20. And now it's asking for a string. So remember, a string, unlike something like this, which is a number, a string is a bunch of letters that we put like this. So if I want to draw the score to the screen, I have to convert it from a number into a string. And there is actually a function for that. So we can just go string, and that will convert it to a string. And since that is just going to be drawing a number, just so that we know what that number corresponds to, I'm also going to write score, and then I'm going to add that together. And that's going to do probably exactly what you think it will. So it's just going to say score, and then it will add whatever number this is as a string to the other string. And it will draw those combined. And let's do the same thing for the lives, except I'll draw it down a little bit, and we'll draw lives and lives. And now all we have to do is add the game to our room. And for objects like this, the convention is to just put them at 0, 0, but really you can put them wherever you want. Their position isn't going to matter. All right, and let's just run the game. So there we go. Now at the moment, those aren't actually doing anything. So let's have the score increment when we shoot an asteroid and the lives decrease when we hit an asteroid. So at the moment, it's actually just drawing with the default font. So let's create a new font, call it FNT text. And again, you can pick whatever font you want. I'll just go with Consolis. And I might turn off anti-aliasing just to give it a bit more of a retro look so that we don't have the text pixels smoothing. It's going to be more blocky. So now we just have to set that font value. And since we only need to set it once, and then we're going to use the same font for the entire game, we can just set it in the create event for the game object. So we just go draw, set font, FNT text, and now it will use that font to draw this. All right, let's actually play with those values for the lives and the score. So in the bullet, that's where we had the collision with the asteroid. And now, no matter what asteroid is being hit, I'm also going to add to the score. So I'll add score plus equals 10. This is a global variable, so we can access it from the bullet. All right, and let's come over to the ship, the collision with the asteroid, and let's get rid of one life. Lives minus equals 1. So now if we run the game, and we shoot an asteroid, you can see that the score is going up and our lives go down if we hit an asteroid. All right, now let's create the other rooms for the game. So I want my start room to be essentially the same as this, the same dimensions and everything, but just to have some text appearing in the middle. So I'm going to duplicate this one, RM start, and I'm going to drag it to the top here because whatever room is at the top is the room that you're going to start in when the game runs. All right, and I'm just going to get rid of these. And now we do want to create the game object in this room, and then I want it to persist for the whole game, right? So I don't actually want it to be getting created in the game room. I want it to be created right here at the start. And then as we transition between the different rooms, I want that object to persist and keep score of everything. So I'm going to just tick this persistent. All right, and now I'm just going to duplicate the start room again. I'm going to call that RM win. And again, I'm just going to get rid of that game object. And one more time for game over. All right. And now, depending on what room we're in, I actually want the game object to be drawing different things. So I only want it to draw this stuff when we're in the game room. But if it's in the other rooms, I want it to draw different text. So I could just do if the room that we're in is equal to rm game. And then I could do a bunch of other else if statements to check for the rest of them. But let's do something different this time. I'm actually going to use a switch statement. So I'm going to go switch room. And now a switch statement has essentially the same logic as an if else if chain, right? So I'm basically saying switch the room. So whatever room is equal to, in the case that it's equal to the rm game, then it will do this stuff. And then at the end of that, we just put a break. So that's one case, but we can set up another case, like the start, and we will do the same for all of them. And the reason that we put these breaks in is because it kind of signals the end of the case. If you don't put the break in, then the switch statement doesn't know when to finish, and it'll actually just run the code for the next one. So make sure that you do put a break here. All right. So now for the start room, I want to do a few things. So let's start off with the title. Let's go draw text, and I'm actually going to use one of these ones here. So I'm going to use transformed color because I want to draw this a little bit bigger and I want to add a color to it. And I think this is going to get quite big, so I might do this over multiple lines. So you can see down here, there's a few more arguments that we have to give it. So the XY, I want to draw this in the middle of the room. So I'm going to go room width over 2. And I'll do it still at the top, but a little bit down, right? So remember, our room is 500 by 500, so that will be a fifth of the way down. The string itself is just going to be space rocks. Now for the X scale and Y scale, so normally this is 1 by default, but I want this to be a lot bigger than the other text, so I'm going to say 3 for both. I don't want to tilt this text at any angle, so I'm just going to say 0. And now, so these are asking for 4 different colors, and that's just because you can actually have the corners of all of the text being kind of different colors. I'm going to set them to all be the same. So what I'm going to do is right here, I'm going to set a temporary variable c equal to c underscore, and these are constants for some different colors that we can use. You can actually use hex values and stuff, but this is easier if you just want some stock colors. So I'm going to use C yellow and use that for all of those. And for the alpha, I want this to be not transparent at all, so I'm going to say 1. Next, I'm going to draw kind of the instructions to the player. So again, I'm going to have this be centered in the middle of the room. So room width over 2, and I'll just go down a little bit more. And now for the string, so I'm going to firstly say on the first line, score 1,000 points to win. But I actually want a few different lines of text, and what we can actually do is open this up with an @ and this will continue the string over multiple lines. So now I'm just going to tell the player what the controls are. Up is move, so left, right is change direction, and space is shoot. And then I'll just say, press enter to start, and we can end the string there. Alright, so let's just give that a test. So remember, we should be starting off in the room start, so this text should be popping up. Alright, so we can see it's kind of working, but the text is left justified, isn't it? So everything is being knocked over to the right. So if we want to get it center justified, we can use draw set h-align, so the horizontal alignment, and then we use FA center to get it in the center. And then after all of this, we have to reset it back to normal because we don't want anything else being drawn incorrectly. So we change it back to be to the left. Alright, and just run it again. And there we go, everything is popping up right. Okay, now for the rest. So I'm going to do quite a similar thing to here. So I might just copy this, paste it here. So instead of using the yellow for the large text, I'm going to use lime because we're 1. So I'm going to say U1. I might put it down a little bit. And now for the text, I'll put this at 300 and just say press enter to restart. Alright, and I'll copy this for the game over. This time I'm going to use red. I'm going to say game over, and I'll put this at 150. And then I just want to tell the player what the final score that they got was. So I'll do this at 250, and we'll go final score plus string score. And then also we'll do another line saying press enter to restart. So a lot of this is pretty boring, it's just playing around with the numbers to see what looks okay. And now for us to actually check this, we should get the game working so that we're transitioning to the correct rooms. So first off, because we start in this start room and we've said press enter to start, we have to set up that key press. So in this game object, I'm going to add the step event. So I'm going to have if keyboard check pressed, the enter key. And now depending on the room, I want it to do different things. So if we're in the start room, then I want to go to the game room. But if we're on the win screen, then I want to restart the game, and the same for the game over screen. So we could use another switch statement and say depending on the room, in the case that we are in the start room, then we are going to change the room. So let's use room go to, and this function will transition us to a different room. So let's go to the game room. But if we are in the win room, then we are going to game restart. So we're going to restart the whole game. And actually, I want it to do the same thing if we're in the game over room. So what I can actually do is say case room game over. And because we haven't put a break statement after this, it will run this code in either case, right? It will just keep going until it hits a break statement. All right, so that takes care of the enter presses. But what about the score and the lives? So I'm going to have this object keep track of the score. So if the score is greater than or equal to 1000, because that's what we said would be the win condition, then let's room go to the win room. And also we can say if lives is less than or equal to 0, then we can also go to the game over room. But one other thing that we have to do is make sure that we're only checking this in the game room. Because if we check this in every room, it's also going to be doing this in the win room. So it's going to be stuck in a loop where we keep moving to the win room, which is not what we want. So first we have to check if the room is equal to the game room. All right, and I'll just tab this over. All right, and just to speed up our testing, I'm just going to set the score to 990 and lives down to 1. And let's give that a run. So let's just press enter and let's go and choose something. There we go, so we won. Let's restart. Great, so we've restarted the game. Press enter again and let's go into it. Great, and game over. All right, so that will do us for now. In the next tutorial, that will be our final tutorial. We're just going to add some flourishes to the game. So we're going to have the game object actually spawning in more and more asteroids as we go through the game, and we'll be adding some sound effects and music. So I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and I will see you in the next one.